Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about 3 stocks you should buy after the election, and here we go.
Yeah. Well, I want to start it off with some that don't really matter based on who's going to win. So we're doing this, of course, in the future a little bit, but speaking in general, no matter who wins, we've got 2 picks, and then depending on who wins, we've got another couple picks. So I guess we can kick it off. Gaming seems to be pretty hot.
Yeah, I would say one of my favorite stocks that I've been doing a lot of research about is GameStop, and the reason is behind what they've been doing on the back end of the company. So they recently are kind of doing a paradigm shift to a different culture as retail stores are getting killed.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. I mean, when was the last time you went into a GameStop? I mean, digital sales are just crushing. A lot of kind of GameStop's bread and butter is gone. But talking about the assets that company has, how many people have bought something at GameStop, and they have all this customer data. Obviously, extremely large asset.
And it's probably one of the biggest shorted companies out there right now. I think there's 170% short on the company. So there could be a massive short squeeze coming, but it really does depend. It's been shorted since $2 or $3 around there. So it's moved up a lot since the past few months. It's already trading at $11 itself, all the way to 15. So the reasons why we're talking about GameStop is because they're doing a lot of things on the back end, like I mentioned earlier. They're going to be changing their model from mostly selling digital items for like Microsoft, Sony. So they've done a recent partnership with Microsoft to actually provide them with kind of digital content sales in retail stores. For example, a lot of people in the world don't have credit cards, they don't have debit cards. Well, they have debit cards, but they don't have digital currencies that they want to put onto like their PS4, PS5s because they're scared of security breaches, things like that. So what EB Games is going to be doing is selling cash cards. So a lot of people buying these cash cards are using like physical cash. So that's going to be bringing a lot of sales in, and they're going to be actually splitting a revenue split for all the digital sales that they're going to be doing. So currently they've only partnered up with Microsoft, which clearly if you're like working at GameStop and you got a whole sales team behind you pushing Microsoft products, I expect Sony's going to have to also join onto a partnership because you don't want one.
It's a domino effect. You get one, you get the others. It's just kind of how it works. Definitely we're talking about people look at it. Oh, it's a dying company. Look, Blockbuster, when they went under, sold a lot of their assets for some serious money.
Yeah.
Not saying that GameStop is following the same. Obviously gaming itself is growing, and they have an incredible database of gamers. And a really kind of great community that they've grown over the past.
A massive brand, exactly.
The brand is worth something. And keeping in mind that everyone probably who plays video games that's over the age of 10 has bought a game at GameStop in their life. So definitely a huge brand, extremely strong. I think they're just figuring out what the next step is. You're seeing a lot of, in terms of gaming, you're seeing a lot of the real sports teams getting into it now. We've seen some partnerships with some NASDAQ listed companies, where you've got the LA Kings partnering with gaming companies. This is only a matter of time before GameStop kind of finds their way in between.
Exactly. I'll actually put up some screenshots as well just to see how the revenue splits and different things like that are going to be affecting GameStop with the revenues going forward. So they're going to be bringing a lot of money in the next few years, especially with console sales going on right now. You have to still go into physical stores or buy them off the online website on GameStop. So they're going to seeing a big revenue spike, and I'm expecting them to do a lot better in 2021.
Yep. Oh.
Perfect. And
well, I mean, let's talk Tesla. Look, obviously, an extremely hyped company. It has an incredible push behind it. This is something that just off the elections can get also some hype. If Biden wins, on one end, you've got the push to more renewable-ish
EV,
energy,
cars,
big electric stuff. And then of course, if Trump wins, you've got a big push towards just kind of overall economic growth. Now, something to talk about when it comes to Tesla is they're probably about to get inducted into the S&P. That's kind of a big chat. Of course, they missed the induction earlier this year, but it was, they kind of came out and the S&P said, hey, like, we want to see another quarter.
Well, yeah, it was one of the biggest shorter stocks of probably 2018, 2019. So I'm not surprised with that going all the way to 2020. But they've been killing their financials each time, outdoing it each year, which is crazy to me. Also, I think just their technology is way better and way ahead of everyone by at least 5 to 10 years. So all competitors have a lot to catch up on. So I think it's a great stock pick, and I would definitely buy a lot of Tesla shares. It's made me a little bit of money, so can't complain with that.
Yeah, look, we talk about the cars, and that's the easiest thing to talk about, obviously, but there's a lot of other stuff happening there. There's obviously just the battery technology itself, but also you've got all the other things Elon Musk is kind of doing behind the scenes. Look, it's probably for sure that the combustible engine is going to be in a museum in the next 50 years. And I love saying that line, and it's true. So, battery power is definitely kind of the next level. What's after cars? You're already seeing trucks. We're going to see planes. We're going to see this, see that. That's an industry that hasn't seen much budge. I'm talking about the airline, but more so, Bombardier and those types of companies. Tesla could be a pretty big disruptor going forward, and I think they're going to get into the S&P, and
still has a lot of potential to explode, in my opinion, because he is the number one promoter out there. Elon Musk is definitely the best innovator, the best, most followed person on social media as well, and he's got a huge fan base, and I expect that to do a lot for him as well.
Yeah, and look, just strictly from a kind of technical analysis side, they get into the S&P. Every fund that supports the S&P has to buy Tesla shares. Just how it's going to work. So for sure, a lot of people with their 401ks or your RRSPs up here in Canada, you're gonna see a lot of those funds move into Tesla, or at least have stakes in Tesla when they get inducted. And I think the next induction is later on November.
Yeah, you gotta love Tesla.
Yeah. So, the next company, which we're kind of looking at, again, based on the election outcome, we want to say that we've heard in the debates online, big social is about oil, right? What's going to happen to the oil industry if Trump wins? We're sure it's going to be bullish. They're going to move forward. Oil's looking good in the U.S. If Biden wins, he said that he's kind of looking to start moving towards different forms of energy.
Oil can be affected really badly with those policies that they're trying to implement, but it just depended. I would just get prepared for both ways of the swing. So
and that's why when we're looking at an industry like that, it's always nice to pick the biggest one. ExxonMobil, obviously the biggest company by miles.
Yes.
And they definitely are feeling the pre-election oil swings a lot. Now, that being said, talking about the oil industry in general, a huge monopoly. You saw it kind of, the deal break a little bit earlier this year, but, look how quickly it snapped back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so oil, extremely expensive still. They're positioned for great growth. It's not like oil's going away. We talk about the use in, but gasoline.
It's going to take a long time before we can get there.
But we talk even with more Tesla cars coming in, people are like, but you just said batteries are growing, but that means this. Look, the majority of oil is used in plastics, and things like that, not used necessarily for gasoline. So it's important to look at where the world's going. Plastics are used more and more in everyday life, and it's important to look at that being a big kind of contributor to the oil price.
Also, another industry that I want to talk about if Biden does win is cannabis. They're pushing very aggressively to legalize it all over America. So that's a major step. And big companies like Canopy definitely already has their foot in the door for the American market. So that's also definitely a great watch list stock to put on for yourself, just because there's a lot of potential. If you look at the Canadian bull market when it did happen a couple of years back, it still has potential to do it all over again in America. So I would be putting that on your watch list as well.
Yeah, do you want to shoot something on cannabis? We could pop it off.
We can do that later, or we can do another cannabis video.
Have we done one?
I don't think so.
Let's talk cannabis industry. Let me hit cannabis industry here for a second. it's important. Like, yeah, Biden, if he wins, things will look good for the American cannabis industry. But more so from a banking standpoint, these companies will be able to take things to the next level, which is great. But it's important to look at the fact that there is only so much demand for cannabis. And you have a lot of these companies that, oh, we're going to make this, crazy weed and, blah, blah, blah. And keeping in mind that it's very expensive to harvest, if that's what we're going to use, cannabis in North America. Extremely expensive.
Yeah, very expensive, yeah.
There's a reason why Canopy was looking at Africa, and other companies were looking at Africa as well. I know Canopy recently pulled out, but we're talking about, they can harvest cannabis, don't get me wrong, maybe not the same quality, and I get that, but for 1/10 of the price.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's pretty incredible. So looking at things from that side, if I was looking at the cannabis industry, I would be looking at things with an established brand, but also looking at companies with technology, maybe the technology companies that help, the growth or, whatever we're going to call the quality of cannabis, CBD, things like that, right? So
yeah, that's why I'm still like a believer of Canopy, just because they are backed by a lot of great investors. And Corona, that's a big brand to be backed by, and they've survived it. They're one of the biggest beers out there, so I'm not surprised if Canopy can survive what happened a few years back and come back as a victor soon enough.
See, that's an interesting, just random outlier. Did COVID, coronavirus help Corona the beer or hurt them? That's an interesting question, and we might have to do a video in 2 years from now and really be able to see what happened.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I forgot about that.
But no, I mean, honestly, cannabis, a very interesting investment. Look, there's been a lot of blood on the streets, so interesting from that perspective. I would be looking.
We don't want to mention all the bad companies like Dan Brazilian and all his Ignite stuff going on right now.
Well, look, it's a hot topic. The thing about Dan, and don't get me wrong, very interesting guy. But you don't know what's true and what's fake.
Yeah.
It's sad. You see him do this, you see him do that. You have stories that come out. I know he's about to publish this book. I mean, who knows what happens?
The only thing you can do is look at the financials, and that's it. They're losing money, a decent large sum of it. So is it all his fault? Probably not. It's just a badly run company. He is the face of the brand, but how much really does he have to say where all these things go? He's not really the CEO. He's not the CFO, but he's definitely a big investor. But
that being said, on your point, and with our background, it's sometimes important to say that just because someone has the title of CEO or president doesn't mean they're the one pulling the shots.
Yes, exactly.
There's you could have bigger people involved in the company that they have their vision, even though they sit on the board of directors like Dan, but they control, a larger stake than everyone else. So
yeah, exactly. But that's why I mentioned that those companies, that's why I like Canopy, because they are on big exchanges and honestly still probably one of the biggest brands and cannabis companies out there, and I would recommend just keeping an eye on that because they are trading at pretty lows. So if they even come back to what they used to be, you're making some good money.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, Warren Buffett says when there's blood on the streets, you buy, right?
Exactly.
And that industry has a lot of blood, and I think, Biden winning, if he does, that could be definitely an industry to pick up a few bucks.
It's actually, start of a new chapter for them, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah. Hey, if you're watching this and you've got companies you want us to do a review on, please drop them below.
Companies, industries, anything like that. But feel free to subscribe. We're going to have a lot of videos every week. And feel free to hit the like button and give us a comment below.